If you've been at all adjacent to online anime spaces since late 2023, chances are you're familiar with the show I'm here to glaze. The Apothecary Diaries is a story that has me watching an episode and then all of a sudden taking the carrot sticks out of my mouth and saying, how the hell did someone come up with this show, man? It's so consistently good. Every episode I'm interested with a big old smile on my chungus face. How do they do it? Well, let's talk about that magic. Hello everybody, welcome back to another Simon Shortbread video. I appreciate your generous patronage, please sit down. So, as I mentioned, I'm going to assume y'all have been put on game already and are at least somewhat deep into the currently airing season 2 of the show. Because I'm going to be talking about some of the recent episodes, so be warned if you're trying to avoid spoilers. As we all already know, Mao Mao is just a generational protagonist in our medium. Enough people have made videos on her greatness, so we aren't here to dive into her specifically. But we are going to talk about her episodic hijinks. Let's start with Season 2, Episode 7, which I think is a shining example of this show's ability to tell an interesting, contained story that builds on character relationships, teaches us more about a character we haven't spent that much time with, while dropping in some world building. All wrapped up in an interesting puzzle for us to figure out alongside Mao Mao. In this episode, we learn more about the Emperor and Jinchi's childhood. We get hints of Mao Mao suspecting Jinchi's true position, which sets up episodes 11 and 12 nicely. We get to learn about the past of the kingdom through seeing what is being taught to Xiaolan and the other girls in the Red Palace. By the way, is Xiaolan not the sweetest little bean of all time?
Xiaolan. どう？少しは字覚えた？まだまだだよ。
Oh, alright, I'm glad we agree. And to top it all off, we get the classic Apothecary Diaries bread and butter of Mao Mao being the cleverest person in the room, figuring out a fun puzzle that allows the viewer to try and figure it out alongside her. Bro, at the end of this episode, I am that image of Martin Scorsese. No words, but cinema. It really is A1 television to me. When shows attempt to tell stories contained to one episode, I find they usually omit one or two of the things this episode does. They might focus solely on character interactions, which, don't get me wrong, I enjoy lower stakes moments in stories when we're given time to breathe and focus on characters getting up to some fun antics. But in those episodes, I think it's very possible to do more while not losing the appeal of those episodes. This is gonna be a really weird pull, but I've been watching Persona 4 the animation recently, and they have an episode which I think is a good example of this. In episode 20, most of the runtime is spent on hot springs shenanigans, which in small doses I can tolerate. But the episode doesn't just leave you with funny moments and fan service. Throughout it, you get a glimpse into Yukiko's life outside of the time she spends with the group, culminating in a moment at the end where she stands up to some arseholes and affirms herself and the value her family's in and the people in it have in her life. It's a small moment, but you can see how it elevates an otherwise enjoyable episode into something more. Alright, back to peak. Now, let us head 3 episodes down the track to Season 2, Episode 10, which, again, is a story contained in just one episode, and again, it ticks a lot of boxes. This episode opens with new ladies-in-waiting joining the Jade Pavilion, which, about time, they definitely needed it. We get Gyokyo being an awesome boss, and then we're met with Linghua's proposition.
じゃあ早速今夜付き合ってもらうわよ。
Yeah! Skeleton Slumber Party!
Horror movie
marathon! I love man-made horrors!
Well, not quite, but almost. Linghua takes her to a scary event where girls in the Red Palace all sit in a candlelit circle and take turns telling spine-chilling tales. Which Mao Mao quickly deduces are mostly rumors heard around the Red Palace. Which proves that no matter the era, women love true crime. Well, that's my time. Thank you. Moving on. So, what does this episode do that makes it good in my eyes? Well, in this episode, we learn more about what some girls in the Red Palace do for fun. We learn more about both Linghua, Shisui, and we can also deduce that Xiaolan doesn't like scary stories because she isn't here. We get a series of anthology tales that Mao Mao later is asked to debunk a few of them, more bread and butter there for you. And finally, we get a nice little tie-in to the topics covered last episode through the hostess of the event. Isn't it awesome how much these little self-contained stories are able to do for the show as a whole? This anime has so many balls in the air at all times, and sometimes you even forget the ones that haven't been caught in a while. But it never drops them. Every episode is a service to the world and greatest story at play, while managing to be its own fun little experience. Before I take my leave, I just want to give Shisui her flowers. This girl could be the protagonist of her own show. Every time we see her, she's always just in the middle of living her own life, going on her own adventures, which occasionally coincides with Mau Mau. It makes the world feel way more fleshed out to have characters that are in service to the world and not just the main cast. You all know those characters who you just think, I have no idea what they do when they aren't on screen near the protagonist. Do they have a life outside of Protag-san? 'Cause I don't think they do. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed. I haven't asked for this before, but if you think I earned it, I'd greatly appreciate a like, comment, sub, any, all, or none of them. Up to you. I'm gonna be trying to upload one of these every Friday, so stick around. Or don't. Thanks anyway.